First I thought of Smita. She had worked in Gaman, but then we felt that maybe you need somebody with a little more oomph, with a little more presence. Smita would also have done a good job. But I think Rekha was the right choice. I mean, I was really amazed people were not going to the halls, you know. So my father got very upset. He said, fools. He really gashed his teeth and he said, एक पोस्टर बनाओ और उसमें लिखो फिर ना कहना हमें खबर ना हुई. As I was coming out, she said कि मैं सिर्फ इतना कहना चाहती हूँ कि उमराव जान तो हमारा ओढ़ना बिछोना है. So I mean, it's very. I mean, I was moved to tears. हमने कहा ये तो कुछ बात ही और हो गई थी.
But did you see images of Aishwarya? Like, what did you think of her as Umrao Jaan?
I don't know. I mean, images. She's a good-looking lady, you know. There's no doubt about it. But Rekha.
Rekha, that is true. दिल चीज़ क्या है आप मेरी जान लीजिए बस इतना सा मेरा कहाँ मान लीजिए. 44 years after Umrao Jaan released, the song continues to be the voice of many lovers. Today, we have with us the man who gave us this iconic film and its unforgettable music, Muzaffar Ali. Welcome to India Today.
Thank you.
The film is re-releasing, Muzaffar. Tell me, what was your first reaction when everything just fell into place and you knew that people will be going to watch Umrao Jaan in cinemas?
Well, I think it's very gratifying. I think the whole process of having made the film and seen it through years, decades following it, it's been a gratifying experience because people have warmed up to the ethos of the film, to the femininity of the film, to so many small hidden layers of the film. And now to see it come in this way is really quite a heartwarming situation, right? Because it's been restored frame to frame, so it'll be like a fresh experience, you know.
Absolutely.
And then we brought out a coffee table book, which is also quite a labor of love.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, Muzaffar, of course, Umrao Jaan gave Rekha a new identity altogether. So what was her reaction when she got to know that the film is re-releasing, and what is the kind of conversation you both had?
I think it's now dawning on her that once again people are going to see her in flesh and blood and as she was in the in that film, you know. So I think she is. I mean, she must be going through something else. You know? I'm going through something else. So, but it will be quite a big thing when it all comes together. When we are together in the theatre and watching it with people, it will be quite an experience.
Right. But have you guys been in touch? Like.
Yeah. Because in the writing of the book, in putting it together, she wrote a 2-page poem also. So, which is quite. Again, very beautiful, to which I've also written a kind of a rejoinder. So I've been in touch with her and she knows what's happening. And I know what's going on in her head somewhat. But
yeah, I think the coffee table will be another big surprise and a treat for fans for sure.
Yeah, because it's a bunch of archival photographs which actually normally in Bombay, people don't preserve pictures.
Yes.
You know? So to be able to bring so many pictures out in that kind of pristine complexion, it'll be nice, and it's well penned by a lot of people who've seen the film through different aspects of its.
And fans of the film will definitely miss Farooq, Sheikh. But what are the kind of memories that you have about
Farooq was a dream, you know. He brought so much grace and beauty to the film that I can't tell you. He didn't let, I mean, he didn't overshadow Umrao, and he also brought a personality into play which helped the story, you know. So he was very good. Yeah. I mean, we really miss him.
Absolutely. And I think it's a dream run for Naseeruddin. Like after Manthan, this is also re-releasing that this has been restored. Did you have a chat with him?
Yeah, Naseer also has written a piece in that, and he's also happy. I mean, I think everybody it's who's been in it, who've done their best, are pleased.
And we've been told, of course, we all know about how you shot this film for a very long time, Muzaffar. I mean, tell me, what was the scenario back then? Were these actors also working parallelly with in other projects, and did that kind of create a difficult situation for you?
No, I think they gave their fullest. They gave their full commitment, and time and engagement. I mean, there's no like waiting for them on the set or anything like that. They were there, and that shows also. Because it's a period film, so to get into a role, to get into that costume, makeup, and all that kind of taking you away from the modern world into another world. Absolutely. You need time, and they gave that time. It was really wonderful to work with everybody, because everybody brought so much to the table that it sort of 1 and 1 became 11, from the lyrics to the writing to the music to the singing, everything.
And more than 4 decades have passed, but what is that you remember from the shoot, like from the filming of Umrao Jaan?
I remember everything, but I mean, if you want me to word by word tell you, I may not be able to.
Okay, give us top 3 moments that you remember, maybe.
I mean, they were basically, I remember mainly funny moments. They take. First of all, this whole thing of doing one role in the film as her father. Okay. Mr. Rahman was supposed to be doing it, and so I was really looking forward to having Mr. Rahman from Sahib Bibi Ghulam. Right. And he arrived at Delhi airport and there was nobody to receive him. So he went back. So, and I was working on a very tight budget, tight schedule. I had to do this tomorrow, day after. I had to finish this. So I asked my production manager, who had worked with Mr. Rai. So he thought he could make the impossible possible, So I told him, I was far away from Lucknow. So I took a few names and I said, can you find somebody who can do this role, this last minute? He says, yes. He brought one fellow and I shook hands with him and he was wearing some horrible cologne, I shook his hands and I did like this. हमने कहा नहीं हम खुद ही कर लेते हैं ये रोल. हमने कहा लगा दो मुझे. But these kind of things, then there was a scene of riding in that, So I said, get me a good horse at least. Right. So he used to park his car on the main highway, and any tonga that came, he would unhitch it and bring that horse here. I said, listen, these are horrible horses. Finally, I went to the police line and I got really something very beautiful which I could ride, So these are funny things that kept happening.
Right. And what about your actors? Did they have their own starry tantrums on set? Yeah.
There were no tantrums. I think that's a miracle,
Yeah. I mean, such top actors just working seamlessly.
I think there was a lot of respect and regard for each other. और लखनऊ में थे, तो लखनऊ had to live up to that.
Yeah, and I was just reading an interview of yours where you called this as your most inexpensive film. I mean, given the grandeur of Umrao Jaan, how did you manage to pull that off, and why do you called it an inexpensive film?
See, the thing is that when you are hands-on in doing a film, then you are so passionate about every little department that, and you want to make it happen the way you want, you've dreamt it. So, things are not that expensive. The moment you farm it out, so everybody has their own kind of markups and assignments and ye kar do, wo kar do, everything becomes very expensive. So I rather do things myself to be able to make sure that I can control the budget. And Lucknow was full of people who were out to help and extend themselves and give their things for the film. that I don't think people ever talked about money. Money was not the language of this film.
Right.
I don't remember touching any money, and I don't remember even parting with any money. I mean, obviously the production money was
Right.
not in huge numbers. So I think that's how films should be made.
Yeah.
Should be made with passion.
But also, Muzaffar, interestingly, right now, a box office collection has become dinner table conversation. Like, I have friends who have nothing to do with films, but they are also reading trade copies. Tell me, how was it back then? Was it also important to have a commercial aspect to a film's success?
Sure, I think you need to attract some eyeballs, some footfalls. But you can. The film has to stand on its own passion. It has to stand on its own beauty, its
Right.
message. So that way, and once it does that, I mean, we have these false notions के पहले हफ्ते में इतना पैसा कमा लिया, दूसरे हफ्ते में इतना कमा लिया. कोई 44 साल जिंदा रह के तो बताए, है कि नहीं? So you need passion to be able to do that. Maybe a lot of people use names to pull in money, but it doesn't pay off. They take the major share, and I don't think the producer gets his inputs back.
Right. But also the kind of subjects that you picked, I mean, those were called risky subjects. Those will be called risky subjects right now because everyone's just mounting big actioners right now in cinemas. What was the thought process of picking such important socio-economical subjects and just presenting it in its real raw forms?
See, I was following my heart. I was following a different kind of a calling where I was a painter trying to see life in a different way, driven by poetry, charged by music, inspired by dance. So I had my own idea of doing that, and I felt that these were very safe domains. There was not very big risk in that, except that casting was important. And I think Rekha helped in that way. But more than Rekha, it's people who found empathy with the character. That paid off.
I was about to ask you later, but now that you've mentioned, I mean, of course, Rekha, nobody else can think of Umrao Jaan without Rekha. But while you were casting, did you also have other names in mind? And what was the discussion like with the producers about casting Rekha for this part?
No, I was the producer, but my financier, worldwide controller was Mr. S.K. Jain. And first I thought of Smita. She had worked in Gaman. But then we felt that maybe you need somebody with a little more oomph, with a little more presence. I mean, Smita would also have done a good job. But I think Rekha was the right choice. So when I read the character, I lived the character, and I heard the film recorded in Salma Siddiqui's voice over and over again. It was Rekha, she had the power in those eyes, which to tell the story, the story where you fall and rise in the same moment, So that way, what Rekha brought to the table, I don't think anybody could have done.
Right. And given the setup of the film, of course, you required those songs, those dance songs. But please tell us more about the music of the film. As I rightly mentioned, it's unforgettable. All the songs continue to be,
Songs don't happen overnight. They are part of your screenplay. It's part of the character you're trying to cast, develop, and shape. And it's a emotion, it's a development that has to be told through lyrics.
Right.
Like she's a kind of a person thrown from a kind of a qasbah into a kotha, and there she tries to come to terms with life, and then she acquires a certain kind of optimism. So that had to come out in a song.
Right.
Similarly, she gets more confident of herself. She's people are attracted to her. So you have to go a shade higher and deeper also. Then there's a disillusionment in her life, and then there's frustration in her life, and so all these things had to be told in poetry. जैसे दिल चीज़ क्या है आप मेरी जान लीजिए, बस एक बार मेरा कहा मान लीजिए, या कहिए तो आसमां को ज़मीं पर उतारना है, मुश्किल नहीं है कुछ भी अगर ठान लीजिए, या फिर इन आँखों की मस्ती कि मस्ताने हज़ारों हैं, इस शम्मे फरोज़ा को आंधी से डराते हो, इस शम्मे फरोज़ा के परवाने हज़ारों हैं. So this kind of evolution of mindset,
Right.
and then ये जुस्तजू जिसकी थी उसको तो न पाया हमने, इस बहाने से मगर देख ली दुनिया हमने, to the final song, ये क्या जगह है दोस्तों, ये कौन सा दयार है, हदे निगाह तक जहाँ गुबार ही गुबार है. तो ये चीज़ें जो थी, ये this was actually शहरियार's own poem before the film. So I said, शहरियार भाई ये है मंजिल इसकी, ये क्या जगह है दोस्तों. अब now let's go back and let's create a kind of a river that flows from somewhere else to here. And then we started working on that, and we arrived at these songs. And then Khayyam Saab used to live very near here. Shahriyar used to live here in the house upstairs with me when we were working. So we arrived at a kind of a melodic statement, which took about over a year, I think.
Wow.
So it was a slow process of arriving at these nagmas and these melodies, which became, everlasting.
Absolutely.
And then Asha ji getting into it, of getting absorbed by it, and bringing out a rendition which was as if coming out of Lucknow.
Absolutely.
I think that was a very beautiful journey.
Yeah. And while we were talking about music, I mean, right now I think the new generation is also leaning towards ghazals and poetry. I mean, what do you have to say? What has brought them back to this melodious musical genre?
See, ghazal is something you can't run away from. No? It's once it catches you, it catches you. And especially in Umrao Jaan, a woman singing a ghazal or reciting a ghazal is dynamite. So you can't escape that.
But what's your also take on remakes? Of course, JP Dutta attempted a remake of Umrao Jaan. What did you think of it? And tell us more.
I didn't see it.
Okay.
Because it was the imagery of what I had done was too sacred for me. So I didn't want to get disturbed by anything else like that. And I think that's what people also protected their own imagery which they had acquired from Umrao Jaan with Rekha.
Absolutely.
So I can't say anything about what other people do, but I can only vouch for what I've done, and also, I'm grateful for people to have respected it and protected it.
Right. But were you taken in confidence when they were making the film?
No.
Oh.
See, the title had got lapsed, I didn't renew it, so that was the main thing.
Oh, wow. We didn't know about this.
No, it lapses after 5 years or something like that.
Okay.
So then anybody can take it, it's in public domain.
Right.
I should have kept renewing it, which
But did you see images of Aishwarya? Like, what did you think of her as Umrao Jaan?
I don't know. I mean, she's a good-looking lady, there's no doubt about it. But Rekha is...
Rekha, that is true. But if you were to remake Umrao Jaan today...
I wouldn't remake. Why should I?
Okay, if you were to make, I won't even say remake, if you were to make Umrao Jaan today, who would you cast as a 3
That's remaking only. No?
If you forget that you made Umrao Jaan...
How can I forget I made Umrao Jaan?
Don't want to give me an answer.
No, there is no answer. There's no question here.
But who do you think can pull off an Umrao Jaan? Like all three,
जो भी
Naseer
डूबने
and
को तैयार हो,
Farooq's part also.
जो डूबने को तैयार हो, इसमें तो डूबने वाला चाहिए ना आदमी.
वो तो है. But आपकी नज़र में कोई है जो लगता है कि कर पाएगा actually?
नहीं, I think what is happening is लोग डूबने को तैयार नहीं.
Muzaffar just doesn't want to give me names.
क्या नेम आपको चाहिए?
बताओ आप कौन कर सकता है play
नहीं
तीनों
कोई
roles?
नहीं, कोई जब तक कोई आके खुद ना कहे मैं करना चाहता हूँ, ये करना नहीं चाहता.
Okay, but also we have a complaint that why didn't you make more films? What happened?
I made a lot of films after that. I made smaller films, but I don't want to compromise.
Okay.
And I don't want money to rule my life, you know.
Right.
So I'm a painter. I paint. So I do other things. I do Jahan Khusro. Jahan Khusro is a very big phenomenon. It brings the world together.
Right.
तो मैं कुछ ना कुछ करता रहता हूँ. And I'm happy.
Right.
And I respect films, and I think films can change the world. So I don't want to now go less than that.
Yeah.
Unless I make a film that can change the world or make a big difference, I won't make a film.
Right. But do you watch Hindi films? Like, what's your take on contemporary Indian cinema?
I watch some films. I watch not too many, because every day people are watching films on television.
Right, yeah.
So films have become a daily private experience. And unfortunately, I don't watch too many. I don't watch Hindi films actually.
Right. But any recent film that you watched and you liked it, maybe?
They're nice, amusing films. You know, Lapata Lady is sweet. You know, so there are lots of these good, sincere, genuine efforts, not too expensive. Because the moment you go into expense, we don't know how to spend money.
Yeah.
We spend money on the wrong things, and the production values are all wrong. So when you're organic and down to earth and basic, and your cinematography is strong and you have honest lighting, you are home free.
Absolutely.
But the moment you go into designing a film, then I'm afraid you are not ready for it.
I think after the coffee table book, you should write a financial rule book for filmmakers.
No, I had a good financier. He was very good.
Yeah, but since Shad was here, Muzaffar, I also wanted to ask you, when he kind of stepped into filmmaking, what was that one piece of advice that you gave him?
I don't give any advice.
Okay.
I just don't advise anybody because that's his journey.
Yeah.
उसमें जरा सा मैं गलत कोई एडवाइस दे दूं या अपनी एडवाइस दे दूं, तो he'll go somewhere else, and then he'll stand there and say, "Papa, you told me to do this, and I've reached here." So it's better he follows his heart and reaches where he has to reach.
Absolutely. And lastly, tell me, of course, just around less than 2 weeks for the film to re-release. But what do you remember of the time when the film actually released and you started getting feedbacks or calls from people? I just want to end this on a nostalgic note about you talking about the time when the film hit cinema halls.
See, one is that you believe in what you've done, and people don't believe in what you've done. So there's a gap there. So when it was released in Lucknow, I mean, I was really amazed people were not going to the halls, you know.
Right.
So my father got very upset. He says, fools. He really gashed his teeth and he said, एक poster बनाओ और उसमें लिखो, फिर ना कहना हमें खबर ना हुई. And he put it up, he said, वहाँ लगा दो रेलवे की कॉलोनी में, वहाँ इतने लाख लोग रहते हैं, वगैरह वगैरह. So the poster was made, some very basic poster. And it was put, but slowly, I think the film got recognition from various people. People kept coming back to see it. They saw something, then they saw something more. So वो एक जो उसका एक repeat value जो शुरू हुई, लोग जाके वहीं बहुत से लोग थे, उन्होंने फिर अपनी सीटें बुक कर ली, वो रोज जाते थे. So all kinds of things started happening, and then there was no looking back. But today I feel film needs to be nursed. It takes time to reach people and stay there, you know. So this film has taken its own journey over time, gone through this medium, that medium, VHS, this, that, television, and now the 4K. So it's going into the OTT zone. So it's taken its own path, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of times now, the new films that are made, they immediately go to the OTT. But here it's taken a lot of time to mature and reach where it's got to reach. And I think people are going to, especially the women, warm up to it very strongly. I've never seen women warm up to anything more than Umrao Jaan.
Absolutely. But कोई कॉल या मैसेज that came जो रह गया वो दिल के पास बिल्कुल?
माँ बहुत सी बातें रोज़ कोई ना कोई कुछ बात कह देता है जिससे दिल पे असर होता है. अब मैं जहाँ फिल्म दिखा रहा था लाहौर में 5-6 years back, and there were a lot of very articulate people and saying this is what it did, this is what it did. And then one lady who was very shy and quiet, old lady, as I was coming out, she said कि मैं सिर्फ इतना कहना चाहती हूँ कि उमराव जान तो हमारा ओढ़ना बिछोना है. So I mean, it's very. I mean, I was moved to tears. हमने कहा ये तो कुछ बात ही और होगी.
बिल्कुल. Thank you so much for this conversation and can't wait to watch the film with my girl gang.
अच्छा, you better take your phone.
Yes, we will. We already have our plans set.
सीटी वाला होगी.
हाँ, ले जाऊंगी मैं साथ.
लेकिन गलत वक्त में मत बजाइएगा. इंटरवल में बजाइए.
बिल्कुल. Thank you so much, Muzaffar. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thanks.